Right, I am back with another Diablo 4 video. I almost said Diablo 2, I don't know why. Um, I have obviously still been playing a whole lot, other than my obligatory hour of Destiny per week, which will commence again tomorrow at Reset. I don't know how many weeks the story's even really continuing. I think maybe another 3, I'm not sure. I think there's an exotic quest at some point too, which will be fun. But in terms of Diablo, I now have a 72 Barbarian, 56 Rogue, and a 32 Druid, I think. So as you can see, I am skipping around quite a bit, and people are telling me that I'm doing this wrong because today I want to talk about the seasonal model. So I spent all morning trying to figure out exactly how the seasonal model is going to go, based on how Diablo 3 and I guess 2 seasons worked, based on things Blizzard has said already, and then based on people trying to fill me in at least on how they think it works, and then some stuff is still a little nebulous. So the main crux of Diablo seasons are to have a seasonal character and level them from scratch, over the course of however long the season is. Now they're going to be, I don't remember how long they were in D3, but they're going to be 3-month seasons, so for a year. The idea is that you will take a character from 1 to whatever. There are seasonal ladders, so if you want to try and climb high on those, I know there will be a number of competitive people trying to do that. But for most normal people, the process will be kind of releveling a character, playing the new content. There'll be new missions and stuff, new enemies, they said, which is, I think, a change, and then some new loot. But things are changing a little bit from D3, and the idea of re-leveling a character every season just doesn't really hold a lot of appeal for me. I always view Diablo as kind of a long-term investment, where I want to get my characters to max, give them 1 to 3 super powerful builds where I feel like they're very strong, farm, top end loot until I think they're close to perfect, and then wait for an expansion. That is not really the goal remotely of the seasonal content. And the change here is, at least with seasonal characters now, Blizzard has said that they will be moved into what they call the Eternal Realm once you're done with that season. So I think this is a pretty significant change, where the idea is that, at least for the first few seasons here, that is theoretically when you should be leveling your alts. And given the fact that I have done 3 characters at this point and bounced around between them, I have probably screwed up a little bit, and I will have to do Necromancer or Sorcerer if I want to start from scratch for a new season. One thing that remains a little unclear is how exactly your Eternal characters can contribute to the season, because things are different in the sense where now Diablo 4 has a battle pass. And, I do not want to spend $25 on a single set of armor for my characters. I would pay $10 or whatever it is to kind of go through a season pass and unlock cosmetics that way. That to me is a little more appealing. Go to 1 to 100. The ornaments in the season pass, they have said, are universal ornaments, so you're unlocking them across all your characters. And then there's going to be stuff like, I think, mounts and mount armor and mount trophies. I don't know. There's a lot of things they have. And then for seasonal stuff, for seasonal characters, on the free track, there are some bonuses, like bonuses to currency collection and gold and XP to make that process go a little bit faster. But I am very curious how this is going to go over, because on the one hand, this has been how Diablo seasons have worked essentially forever. Diablo 2 had this to a certain extent, Diablo 3 had this, Diablo 3 had 28 seasons or something, and so clearly there was a market for that, although Diablo 4 is many people's first Diablo game, and I do wonder what kind of wall people might run into if suddenly they figure out that every season the goal is to re-level a character. And for the first, I guess, 4 seasons, the first year, that could mean if you're waiting to start an alt, then you just do your alt for that season, and then that becomes an eternal character that you can save. That's not a bad plan. I do wonder what happens in the longer term here, where okay, we have all the classes now. What do you are we? You're just re-leveling alternate versions of those characters, which is definitely how Diablo 3 worked. That doesn't really hold a ton of appeal to me. I guess it is a giant, huge pain to like change builds right now. I just saw Joseph say on Twitter that they are considering loadouts for the future, which is cool. That's probably a news item that was just in my replies somewhere. It is a giant pain to change over. Like I'm struggling now with my barbarian in tier 4 here a little bit because I'm very not meta. But like to think about changing to a bleed build, it's like to refarm all the ancestrals and spend millions of dollars on re-getting all my paragon points and skill points, and like it's certainly a process. So I guess maybe the idea is that you could level an alternate barbarian to do another kind of build. However, you're re-leveling the whole thing. And I just talked about today how the higher levels of Diablo, if you get one barbarian to 100, you're probably not going to want to do that again on a second barbarian because the final stages of that grind are so significantly longer than anything else. I'm still kind of debating how I'm going to engage with Diablo seasonal content, because one of the questions I have is what can your eternal characters do during a season of Diablo 4? Because that has not really been made clear yet. They are going to do some sort of developer deep dive into seasons in July, but that's a couple weeks away, so I'm kind of just left to speculate at the moment. If your eternal characters can contribute some sort of XP toward their specific milestones within a season. That's what they went over with me beforehand. So it's kind of like Destiny seasonal challenges where it's like do this specific thing and that will give you big chunks of XP to get through the battle pass. I do not know if all of those are only exclusive to seasonal characters and you just can't do them on permanent characters. That seems like that could be the case given how reliant past Diablo seasons were on this idea of a brand new character. So I don't really know how that's going to play out. I am not 100% sure if your permanent characters can play the new quest lines. I would think they could, because I think the content of the season is free. You're just paying for the battle pass. Like that is what is being sold with the season. So if I can play the new content, experience the new enemies, if I can farm the new loot items without leveling a new character, from level 1 again, that has some appeal to me. Well, I might do this for, Sorcerer and Necromancer, which are characters I don't have yet. I just wonder past that, like I've already started these alts, I don't really want to delete my 56 Rogue or even my 32 Druid. Like, yes, I know you can power level and blah, 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 but like, I don't really want to do that again. So I'm very curious kind of what you all think about this, because I know it's kind of a split between Diablo veterans and new players that hear this, and they're like, wait, what? Like, I have to level a character from scratch? Like, it doesn't really sound like it makes a ton of sense, or that's something that's very appealing, and yet a ton of people love it. But, like, some guy replied to me on Twitter, and he's like, Eternal characters are for, like, testing up builds and, preparing for seasonal content, because that's like when the seasonal race happens. I'm like, that sounds like a very not fun way to look at it. Yeah, the metaphor was that Diablo characters are like Legos. Like, it's not really about it's not really about the finished project. It's about getting there. And I just don't know if I share that philosophy. Like, I get that it would be hard to create seasons for Diablo if you do have people that are just very quickly maxing classes to 100, because like what is left to do. So for those people, I get that the kind of releveling process may make sense if they're that into the game where they just want to keep releveling characters after characters after characters every season. I'm just hoping that there is enough stuff for eternal characters to do where I at least feel like I can engage with some of the content. I don't need to grind like Diablo seasons nonstop. Like I don't really want to. That's the other factor here is time, where I don't know if I want to keep releveling new characters and characters. Like, I have other games I have to play. I can't just like give up Destiny. And like, I don't want to give up Destiny. I still enjoy Destiny. So if I can at least maybe avoid part of this grind for myself and still experience it to some extent on the characters I already have, that has some appeal to me. I guess it's just not really clear how things are going to fully change between, Diablo 2 and 3 seasons with Diablo 4 seasons with the addition of the battle pass and like self-contained seasonal missions and enemies and loot and things. Like some of this stuff wasn't around previously, and Diablo wasn't quite as heavily leaning on its live service ambitions. We also don't know when the first expansion is coming. If you have one main character now, and then you do 4 alts for each season, and then there's an expansion, and it introduces paladins, let's say. I absolutely believe paladins are coming. That's another character that you can level from scratch for a season. So I'm very curious how this is going to go with the mix of old players and the new players running into a system they might be unfamiliar with. They have said some stuff is carrying over, like the Fog of War on the map is going to be cleared if you've cleared that before. The Altars of Lilith are not going to reset. However, the rest of Renown is essentially going to reset. So like the dungeons, the strongholds, all of the side missions, which does not sound very fun to me. All of that stuff is resetting. This is also an era where you can skip campaign. So it's not like some of the older games where you were often replaying the campaign like a million times to the point where like you turn off dialogue because you just don't want to hear the same stuff anymore. Really, you only have to play the campaign once in Diablo now, which I really like. It was a very good campaign. Don't get me wrong. I played it twice because I played it on my review build also. But I don't want to play it, in Diablo 3 it was terrible because you had to play through the whole campaign on like different difficulties with each character. And like you really got sick of it by the end of that. So I think they made some significant progress in that area, and I'm glad they did it the way they did it. I'm just looking forward to hearing more about seasons specifically and kind of knowing what you can do and what you can't do and what definitely requires a seasonal character and what may not, how the battle pass works into this, what's in the battle pass, what the theme of the season is. They said they're essentially doing, themed seasons. So the example they always give is it's a zombie season. They're not actually doing zombies, but like some sort of specific theme for a season. They said they're not really doing any like goofy things. Like you're not going to see like silly Diablo armor skins anytime soon. Like they want to keep with the vibe of the game as it stands currently. Scary nightmare crap, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, the armor looks pretty badass right now. So if it's more of that, I'm all for it. But yeah, so I'm just curious how this goes. I will do a circle back here once we have more information. I'm bugging some of the Diablo people on Twitter to answer some of my questions. We'll see if they get back to me. They're a very friendly, accommodating bunch. Like even Rod Ferguson's like the director of the whole franchise, and he takes time to like respond to me when I bother him with stuff. So that's very kind. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like if you're like a hardcore Diablo 3 seasonal player and you really like that, like I'm wondering what you really like about that. If you're a new player and you're like that sucks, like and you're gonna not engage with it, I'm curious as well. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.